Most people build recession-proof income wrong. Here's what breaks first. During a downturn, the first thing that breaks isn't your savings, it's your paycheck. Layoffs spike, hours get cut, and one income source can vanish overnight. By the end of this video, you'll know which income streams hold up when the economy shrinks, and the order to build them in. Most financial advice stops at save more. But even a stacked emergency fund runs dry if nothing is refilling it. Resilient income isn't about a bigger cushion. It's about having more than one source pushing money into your account at the same time. Fragile income depends entirely on one employer, one client, or one industry staying healthy. Resilient income comes from work and assets tied to things people still pay for, even when money is tight. Food, repairs, basic services, essentials nobody can put off. There are 4 layers to resilient income, and most people build them in the wrong order. Get the sequence wrong, and the top layer collapses the moment you actually need it. Stick around, because that mistake is more common than you think. The first layer is your core income, and step 1 isn't finding a new job, it's making the income you already have harder to cut. Certain roles inside almost any company are the last ones touched when budgets shrink. Certain kinds of work barely slow down in a downturn. Repair and maintenance, healthcare support, essential retail, budget services. People stop buying new things when money gets tight, but they still fix and maintain what they already own. If your income sits inside an industry tied to discretionary spending, luxury goods, travel, big-ticket sales, that's the first place cuts happen when a downturn hits. Recognizing that risk early gives you time to shift before the downturn forces your hand. Inside almost any job, you can lean toward the recession-resistant parts of it. A salesperson can shift toward service contracts and renewals instead of chasing new accounts. A contractor can pivot toward repairs and maintenance instead of new builds. This first layer isn't glamorous. It's boring, steady, and unremarkable by design. And that's exactly why it holds up when everything else around it is shaking. Boring income is the income that's still there in 6 months. But one paycheck, however stable, is still one point of failure. If it's the only stream feeding your household, a single layoff notice can undo years of careful budgeting in a matter of weeks. That's why Layer 1 is a foundation, not a finish line. Layer 2 is a second, separate active income stream, and it has to come from an actual skill, not a hobby you're hoping eventually pays off. The skill has to be one someone else would pay for today, not someday. The best second streams solve a specific ongoing problem for someone else. Bookkeeping for small businesses, tutoring, home repair, design work for local shops. These are problems that exist whether the economy is booming or shrinking. Notice what these have in common. None of them require a large upfront investment, and none of them depend on the same employer or client that pays your main income. That separation is the entire point of a second stream. This is where most people quit too early. A second stream takes months to produce real money, not days. The early goal isn't income, it's proof. Proof that people outside your main job are willing to pay you directly. Once that proof exists, you scale hours, not hope. You already know the demand is real, so every additional hour you add now has a predictable, repeatable payoff instead of a guess. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. The layer everyone rushes toward first, passive income, is actually the one you should build last. In a moment, I'll show you exactly why building it too early backfires on the whole plan. If this is useful, subscribe now, because the next layer is where a downturn either quietly builds your wealth or wipes out years of savings, depending entirely on the timing you control. Layer 3 is semi-passive income, work you put in once that keeps paying you afterward. Think an online course, a rented out room, a small product line, or licensing a design you already created for a past client. The word semi matters here. These streams still need maintenance, updates, the occasional repair, customer questions to answer, but the hours required drop sharply after the initial push is behind you. This layer comes after Layer 2, not before, for 2 reasons: capital and confidence. You need surplus cash to build a rental or a product, and you need proof from Layer 2 that people will actually pay for what you make. Build this layer before Layers 1 and 2 are solid, and you're financing an experiment with money your household can't actually afford to lose. That's how a downturn turns an ambitious plan into a painful setback. Layer 4 is true passive income. Dividends from ownership stakes in businesses that sell necessities, interest from cash reserves, royalties on something you built once and never have to touch again. This layer takes the least time to manage and the longest to build. It's also the only layer that keeps paying you if you get sick, get injured, or simply can't work for a stretch of time. Here's the mistake that costs people the most. Building layer 4 first, because it feels the safest and the most grown-up thing to do. Without layers 1 through 3 behind it, a downturn wipes out that capital before it ever produces steady income. The households that come through a downturn steady aren't the ones with the biggest portfolio. They're the ones with income arriving from 4 different directions. So no single blow can empty the account all at once. Notice how each layer funds the next one. Layer 1 covers your bills, so layer 2 isn't financed with debt. Layer 2 proves demand, so layer 3 isn't a guess. Layer 3 generates the surplus that eventually becomes layer 4. So the build order is this: stabilize the income you already earn, add a second skill-based stream, turn that stream into something semi-passive, then let the surplus fund true passive income. Skip a step, and the layer above it stands on nothing. You don't need 4 income streams built by next month. You need one honest look at which layer your household is missing right now, and one small deliberate step toward it this week. So which layer are you missing right now, the second stream or the passive one? Type 1 or 2 in the comments. I read every single one. In the next video, I'll break down exactly how much of your income should sit in each layer, so you're never dangerously overexposed to just one source again.